everybody. It's me, the Nitty Gritty Yarn Girl. We're a little punchy here at 9 o'clock on a Friday night. I don't even know what day of the weekend is anymore. It's like one day rolls into the next. We're still at home. Nobody's going anywhere. And we're just having a fun time here at Nitty Gritty Yarn Girl, sharing all of our yarns and tips and techniques with all our fans. And thank you so much to everyone for being for tuning into the show today. If you've been on more than once, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate that. And I hope you're all having a great time. So here we are winding up. We are 5 for 5 today, and the first time in my entire time that I know my husband, which is almost 10 years, he said, I'm exhausted. It's been that kind of a day. But we're having a fun time. And I thought what I'd wind up our day talking about. Well, I got a couple of things that I want to wind up talking about. But one thing that I'd like to suggest is, sometimes we see different yarns. I mean, we've seen a lot of new yarns today, at least new to our shop, and some that are new coming out. And one of the things that I like to do to help folks along sometimes is come up with what I call a yarn tasting. And so we have a variety of yarns that you could try out if you wanted to get a feel for the texture and the way that yarn works up. For example, this is Belviso. This is a yarn that's put out by Euro, and where is my Belviso? Where'd it go? Oh, here it is. And this is Euro yarns, and it's a great linen and nettle fibers. I love working with it. If you've worked with linen, straight linen before, you know that it can be a little scratchy, itchy when you're working with it. With the nettle that's in here makes it nice and soft to when you're knitting, nice and easy on the hands. And I'm just looking at the care for this. It's hand washable. You want to keep it nice and soft. And so this is a great yarn for sweaters, summer weight sweaters. As a matter of fact, this is a really nice top that's a sample that I have using the Belviso yarn. Very pretty. You can see how it holds the design very nicely. Pull it away a little bit. There we go. So that you can see the design in the yarn, the little lace scallops in there. Really pretty. So if there's a yarn that you'd like to try that you've seen, give me a holler. Send me a little text message, and I'll see what I can do to send out a little sample for you so that you can do a little yarn tasting on your own and see what the yarns are like. So this is a pattern that's available through Knitting Fever and Euro Yarns, and it is called the Vivian Swing Tank. And we can get all the information for that particular garment for you. So there are other yarns in here. This is actually Kumo. Oh no, sorry, that's Sonata. And this is the Huasco cotton. And we saw that a couple of times today. You saw that in the Solar Flare shawl that I'm knitting, as well as a crocheted shawl. And here it is again in the knitted, in a knitted shawl using the red, white, and blue variegated. Really pretty. Great for the summer. Put these away. So the Belviso is a fun yarn to work up. Again, that is a linen and nettle fiber. And it is a fun yarn for lots of your summer projects. We talked earlier today about mosaic knitting and how the night shift shawl is a good example of mosaic knitting. But I wanted to show you something that is also mosaic that has a little, just a little more motif to it as well. And this happens to be a Isabel Kramer poncho, a little capelet, not really a full poncho. It's a little capelet. but you can see the little detail in there in the mosaic pattern, and then the eyelet on the bottom. And this was actually knitted using Ella Rae. I could just, the Ella Rae Superwash Merino. Of course, different colors, but you can see how those yarns work up. And this is a beautiful yarn. I love wearing it. I love working with it, and it blocks up just beautifully. So that's another example of mosaic knitting. And you can see the difference between these two and this one as well. Okay, lots of variations. Just like there are lots of different cable designs, there are lots of different mosaic designs. And then, of course, there's stranded color work, which is a little bit more involved in technique as well. So that's just something else to think about. So as we wind down our day, I'd like to do a little bit of a recap for you on some of the yarns that we talked about. And we'll be seeing them more, but just to give you an idea, again, when we started our day, we were talking about Tsubami, which is a very, very new, one of the newest yarns by Noro Yarns. It is a fabulous, fabulous, fabulous yarn. The fibers are silk, 50% silk, 25% wool, and a 25% polyamide. Great yarn, super to work with. I'm going to be actually have a sample that someone is making for me using these colors in a sampler shawl. Absolutely gorgeous. And then we had our Painted Sky, which is a great yarn for the night shift pattern, the night shift shawl. And there's also, someone else was looking for a yarn for a scarf. And that's a great yarn for that scarf, which we'll be talking with her on. The Akari is the newer soft, very, very soft fibers. This is a lot of silk and cotton is your, and viscose, mohair, and a little bit of wool in that one. And I'm chomping at the bit to finish that. And then, of course, there's a great, thanks, Paul. There's the great Ito that everyone loves and loves working with. Those are some of the Noro yarns that we talked about earlier today, and some of the fabrics and some of the projects that were knitted using those yarns. Oh, this was the Ella Rae. This is the Lace Merino, a really great yarn to work with. This is fabulous for shawls and scarves and your soft lace work.
Anna Maria wants to know what color is the original sample color.
In which piece? In this one? I don't know what she's talking about. So yeah, let's wait and see. I think she might be talking night shift.
And Linda Brio says hi.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so I know if I know what Anna Marie, let me know what pattern you're talking about, and I'll see what I can come up with for you, what I can share with you. So this is the Ella Rae Lace Merino. It also comes in this great purple. I have some other colors as well. But this is such a fabulous color for summer. These are great.
The Akari, she says.
The Akari. Oh, in the Akari, it was originally...
Janzi says hi.
Hi, Janzi. It was originally knitted up in Silk Garden. Not in these colors, but in Silk Garden. So this was the yarn that was used. This is a little bit more... this is silk, mohair, and wool. This has got... The Akari is a softer yarn it has more cotton, has cotton in it, which makes it nice and lightweight for the summer. So your yardage is much higher on this. You got 528 yards on here, and this is about 105 yards per skein. So you just need to do the calculations and see how many skeins you would need using either yarn. And if there's a color that you think you might like, just let me know. I think the closest in the Akari to that color would be this, which is really very pretty. It's got the tans and a little softness in a little soft orange in there. Personally, as I said, this was my choice. I'm looking to see if there's any other tan. The other one there's one with a blue in it and a tan. This is really pretty too. It's got a little touch of blue in there to, bring out some color. That would look really lovely in that as well. And so we were headed somewhere from there. Oh, I know, Linda Bro. Thanks so much for coming back, Linda. You had mentioned a scarf, and I believe this is the pattern, the chevron pattern that you were referring to. And the yarn that you had asked about is, I believe that is a discontinued yarn. This is the yarn that I would suggest, and that is the Painted Sky. So for Painted Sky to create this particular pattern, this particular scarf, you would need 3 different colors. So your color choices are quite full, and you can, take some time, take a look at them. I can send you samples of each color swatch so that you can see what it looks like, if that's something you would like. And you can actually, what you can do as well is go on to nittygrittyyarngirl.com and look up the in kits, the night shift shawl made with Painted Sky, and you'll see all the different color combinations that we have, and you can choose the ones that you like. Of course, you don't have to choose that kit, but you can pick the colors that you want from that kit to create your own.
Janzi says it was done in Painted Sky.
Yes, that's right, because Janzi's the one that knitted it for us. Yeah, I just don't remember exactly what colors, and I'm not sure what colors Linda would prefer. If she'd like brights, and we did these colors because we thought this was a very universal. This could be a scarf for both man or a woman. And I like the pattern for both, and I love the colors for both. So we thought we'd do that in a pretty generic color combination. So that was that one. And then, looking at scarves as well, this is another, and this one is knitted from Kumo, which we saw. This is another of the Noro yarns, but look at that pretty lace pattern in there. Really nicely done. And Kumo, and that's just one skein of the Kumo, and that would be this. Not this particular color, but that's how that yarn works up. Really pretty. Has some nice movement in it. I really do like that. So the one other thing that I wanted to, I think I may have talked about it earlier, but you might not have been on the show when I did. Something similar to Painted Sky. It has that same texture. It's almost the same, very, very similar yarn in itself, is the Queensland Rainbow Beach, which... Linda says, will do, thank you. Thank you. Rainbow Beach is a lighter weight. This is more a sport weight, and the Painted Sky is a worsted, so it's a heavier, but you could also use something like that. Isn't that a pretty color combination? And you can go with it one other skein and do that too. And these are 328 yards.
Bryce says hiya.
Hiya, Bryce. In the morning and the evening. How are you? I hope you're having a fabulous day. So, what else do I want to show you today? My goodness, it's been a full day, and we have so many things. The Leike needles we talked about this morning. I love these needles. They are so fabulous. I just the birch and the driftwood, they're easy on the hands. They work beautifully. The yarn slides beautifully over them, and we can, these needles are what I love about Leike needles. Let's go to these needles for a second. Most your interchangeable needles start with size 4. Start with size 5 and go up to 11. The Leike needles start at size 4 and go up to size 17. So you can work on your finest wools or fibers and up to your super chunky ones. I mean, you can use the 17s on something like this. And you don't have to go and find another set of needles or another needle. They're right in your set. They come, of course, with the different wires. If you've used interchangeable needles before, you know that the wires attach to the neck of the needle. Oops. And with your interchangeable needles, you just take this little... Oh, by the way, a lot of people don't know what this little thing is used for. This is used to tighten the needles. Unless you're my husband, you just give him a little yank, because he tightens them so tight for me. And see? And then you can use, depending on the project that you're working on. Sometimes, like the solar flare project, it tells you to use a 40-inch, or this is a 32-inch wire, but it tells you to use a 40-inch wire. Well, it's really interesting because you start with 3 stitches on the needle. I got a 40-inch wire. I don't want to use a 40-inch wire for 3 stitches. So what I do is I start with a shorter wire, and then as my piece grows, I just knit it onto the bigger wire. So I never have this bulk of wire hanging there while I'm working with a small amount of stitches. So as your project grows, you can change your wire. Okay. The last thing, my husband is pointing to something down here, and I don't know what it is. The felted project? Felted projects. I don't know if you've ever done felting before. This is, I use this as a sample when I'm teaching felting, because this uses so many colors. Felting is an amazing process, and I just love it, and I do it the old-fashioned way. A lot of people use their washing machine to felt things, and I like to do it by hand. So what is felting? For those of you who've never felted before, have you ever put a wool sweater in the dryer by mistake? Uh-oh. And it comes out, not only does it come out shrunk, but it comes out so tiny that even a newborn would not be able to fit in it, because it's just, what happens is the fiber, it felts upon itself as the water and the heat agitate. It's shrinking the fiber so that it is then becoming what I could actually knit. I could actually cut into this, and it would stay in place. So like here, the rivets that have been put in place here. It's so easy to do when you're working with felted fibers. When you're going to felt, you use 100% wool, not merino wool, nothing else in it. I find the best material to felt with, the best fiber to felt with, is pure wool. And when I started this one happens to be crocheted, and I crocheted this forever ago. But I still love to use it as a sample. When I started this, before I put it into the hot water and soap, this piece was probably 3 times this size. So it goes into the tub of hot water and dish detergent, and it is giant. And then you just swish it. When I say hot water, I'm talking hot that you can't touch it hot. And so I use a spatula. I use a wooden spatula, and I agitate it in the water. Excuse me. to help it to felt. And it takes a while to do it that way, but I enjoy it. A lot of people do actually use their washing machine. Excuse me. I think I might be talking too much. I didn't think that was possible, but I think I might have done it. So, felting is a great way. One of the new projects that I like for felting is making iPhone cases. Making a crossover with a crossover strap for my iPhone so that I can carry it with me and I don't have to go digging in my purse for it. So it's a great little project. That's a great project to do for a class. Hey, maybe I'll do a felting class. That'd be fun. We haven't done one of those in a while. I'm going to put this little baby away. And I guess, you know what? Let's talk about Uluru. This is a fun yarn. Uluru Rainbow by Queensland. This is a, let's see, I love the halo on this. This is a cotton, acrylic, and polyamide. So it's a great little yarn that can be washed gently. And if you take a peek in here, you can see how the colors change throughout. So you look at there's green, there's purple, orange, red. So as you're working this project, your yarn is going to be changing and striping all the way through. It's really, really a fun yarn to work with. I do believe Lois, my friend Lois Arsenault, has some projects that she's knitted with this yarn or crocheted with this yarn and really does love it. And it comes in a variety of colors. And here you've got the greens. And you can see it's got, quite a bit of halo to it. And the purples and reds. I'm looking to see all the different colors that I have. Fun, right? Oh, there's the orange in the back. Yeah. So that's the Rainbow Uluru. That is a fingering weight yarn. Works great for shawls. And it looks really pretty in an eyelet, something loose and flowy. Something that's got some nice flow to it. So that is the Uluru. And on this, you get 382 yards. So, one skein will make a nice little, a little shawlette or a little cowl. Very, very pretty. Like, what's really pretty? Have you knitted Raina? Raina's a really easy one skein project to do. Little triangular shawl. And this one would look really pretty in that. Really nice. So I think we're rounding out our night. Our fingering weight yarns, you'll see again combining things. This is a big thing for me. I loved using more than one yarn at a time. I get bored easily, so I need to have a lot to keep. Whether it's detail with short rows or nups in the dragon's tears, bamboo stitching in the origami shawl, or if we're just combining colors and working together with one color to offset another, or to combine them to get a look like this. Be creative with your knitting and your crocheting. Take the time to think about your projects, and be sure to let your friends know that we'll be here tomorrow at 9, and then again at 12 and 3 and 6 and 9. Oh, and by the way, if you have friends who are interested in learning knitting, I just hosted 2 sessions today for our Click and Knit classes. And Click and Knit is a Zoom live virtual knitting classes. And I'm pleased to say that we had some great results today. Great students. We had a fun time. It takes, it's not as much of a challenge as they thought it would be with the screen in the opposite direction. But I make it easy for them. We start off with their project already in process so that it's easy for them to get going, and we spend that time very productively. And 30 minutes this morning and again this afternoon, the students did a great job at each session of getting that knit stitch started. So if you have friends who would like to learn to knit or have expressed an interest in knitting, send them to nittygrittyyarngirl.com and they can go to the Click and Knit classes. And be sure to watch, events right now. We don't know when they're going to happen again. So I'm really glad that I decided to do this weekend and to get to see a lot of you online and to bring you the Nitty Gritty Yarn Girl Yarn Shop and what we're all about. It's really about helping you to enjoy the craft even more. This is something that whether you're new at it or you've been doing it for a lot of years, we're a community of people who oftentimes knit alone, and then we get together and we knit in a group and we're still quiet. So it's really interesting how knitters work. But it's been a fun time. It's been a fun day. I hope you have a wonderful, restful evening. I will see you all tomorrow at Nitty Gritty Yarn Girl and or at this event. And if there's any questions you have, feel free to give me a call at 203-856-6755 or go on to nittygrittyyarngirl.com. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night, all.